Hello, everyone. Welcome back to our new episode of RBS Innovation Bites. Each month, we have the great opportunity to welcome on our virtual stage a stakeholder, a professional that can deliver some personal, first-hand insight about domain that can be interesting to our network of alumni students. And this month, the episode is going to be called Digital Health and Startup Innovation, a panorama between the West and the East. We're going to explore a little bit more what is happening in the Asian markets and what we can learn actually from these operations, from these innovations that can be potentially applied also in Western ecosystems. And this month, I'm really happy to welcome on our stage a professional, a friend since a lot of time, Hong Wa Poon, who is currently market development manager at the health company and pharma company Boehringer Ingelheim. He's now located in Tokyo, but he's actually a German citizen with professional roots in Germany and China. He's focused on the topics of business strategy, innovation and marketing at a global level. And I'm happy also to share that 2 years ago in 2023, he was named one of the Forbes top 100 most influential overseas Chinese. So he has a great perspective that he's going to share with us. And Hong, here we are. Welcome to all of our students.
Hello, everyone. Thank you very much, Valentino, for this great opportunity. My name is Hong, and I'm happy to share my point of view. It might not be the universal point of view, but hopefully it will help here and there from my experience living and working in different ecosystems, such as in Germany, in China, and now in Japan.
Amazing. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Hong. Thanks a lot for your time. Well, as always, we're going to cover three strategic questions. Let's start with the first one. So, in your view, no, and from your perspective, what are basically why the Asian ecosystems such as China, such as Japan, when you're located right now, why they are becoming such a powerful environment for the experimentation of new healthcare models? And also, what are the elements of their approach that can potentially be adapted also in Western ecosystem and markets?
Yes, thank you for the question. I think that's a very interesting one. It could be going very broad, but I try to limit this question in the fundamental aspects that drives the so-called powerful environment. And one is certainly the population size as such. Yeah. So if you think about China, and if you think about population size by square meter, Japan as well, these are very huge ecosystems where you have a number of billions, millions of people living in small, crowded spaces, all in a harmonious way. And the biggest issue here is that the population is not going to stay healthy forever, right? So we have actually a contrast that, in particular, in both ecosystems, the population is aging. Right? In Japan, we already almost reached 30% of the population that is beyond 65.
Very
In
similar to
China,
the Italian ecosystem, actually.
yeah, yeah, it might be like an issue in developed economies. Let's put it this way. But the issue that comes with it, and also in China, we are getting there as well. In China, I think there was a projection that in 2050, the whole population, which is around 1.3, 1.4 billion, will halven at its size in total, right? In 2050, yeah, this is not too far away. Plus, there is actually not enough children, not enough young working population coming from the other side who can actually support the whole system. And on top of that, you have these economic tensions here and there that create such a big pressure on the system, which literally screams for less people getting sick, less people
Mm.
requiring the help of the system, from the insurances, from the whole ecosystem that is, of course, by age increasing in cost more and more, right? Which also means that, on the other hand, that the need of preventive care, the need of understanding and being aware and taking care of your health status is utmost importance, right? And I think this would really underline the so-called powerful environment, that it's not because people are super happy, it's rather people have to act, society have to act, to kind of experiment, to kind of think in a way, how to sustain the whole society over the next 10, 20, 50 years, so that it's sustainable if you want to stay competitive in the market, right? So this creates this ecosystem and environment of being active, in trying out new measures, new technologies, new business models, and the like in digital health, all with the purpose, of course, in lower healthcare expenses in future, so that the society can bear that. Next to other things that they will do to maintain and steer against the so-called aging society. On top of that, I think this comes with it as well, is that governments, the whole regulatory environment, are adjusting to that as well, right? Instead of putting barriers that I mean, I grew up in Germany, that I see it's not about making things immediately right and discuss all the aspects, and then eventually, after many, many years, many, many discussions, launch. It's more about, okay, there are things we want to change. There are things that are unknown, and instead of discussing forever, they will start first with small pilots. And with small pilots, you actually grant and also regulate and adjust kind of like the regulatory pathways as it's needed. And I think this goes hand in hand, that you have the demand, you have the technologies, and then of course the regulatory environment also needs to support that you kick off things moving, right? And the third aspect is the digital infrastructure as such, coming, of course, especially in China, from society, extremely, that the savviness and the awareness of utilizing digital all around your smartphone. I think it's everything that you do, also website and traffic, is 90% mobile first, right? And that opens up an ecosystem in all direction, including healthcare. And that also means that you have big players, big investments, big solutions, like a whole ecosystem environment that provides and creates services and solutions for the patients at its center, including, of course, the physicians and all the stakeholders that we have in the ecosystem. In Japan, however, it's a little bit lagging behind if you compare that to China, but it's starting to get there as well, with those bigger apps that they have from communication, from e-commerce, that are now, evolving into how can this be used in digital health, connecting the systems and the like. So three major drivers that we have. It's coming from the population, and then connected to that, the need to act, right? And we have a rather favorable regulatory environment, and then on top of that, the so-called digital savviness plus digital infrastructure that goes hand in hand, that makes these two ecosystems kind of favorable for digital health, and that together creates this powerful environment. I guess what they can learn from, sorry, one more point.
Sure.
What we could learn in Asia more from the US, for example, is the venture ecosystem. It slowed down as well a little bit. There was a lot of money, but mainly coming from government as well. But this kind of at scale venture VC players that we have in the US is not as extreme here, and that's probably something where the US is still ahead. And I think if you go to Europe and have the comparison there, we always said that in Europe, trust, data protection, all these frameworks are really excellent. This is what the Chinese colleagues can learn a bit from if we want to build a bridge here.
Well, that's fantastic. Also, the perspective about something that it's not granted. The fact that as a nation, if you want to be competitive, your population needs to be healthy.
Yeah.
And you cannot just grow and just forget the well-being of the population. So this kind of balance is inspiring and extremely important. But for the second question, I want to go back to technology, because now we are talking so much also about artificial intelligence. We know the role of AI in drug discovery, robotics. We were talking about it in other session, and predictive care. So, what do you think? Um, how these kind of innovations are going to shape the global pharma R&D, so AI and frontier technology, and how they are going to reshape the competitive landscape also for biotech and pharma?
Oh, it would. I think everybody knows the scale is there. The impact would be tremendous.
Mm,
Um, Currently, however, I think it's we're not there. I think it's a environment that is slowly moving.
mhm,
Everybody is trying to experiment, do their pilots here and there, and still, I have the impression, still try to understand on the real value on AI and how you can make it reliable in a sense, right? If you have simple examples with your agents, with your co-pilots and the like, at least for me personally, there's always this notion, okay, I'm asking them a question, maybe two questions, maybe three questions, but sometimes there's a little bit of a feeling, okay, is that really true now? Or do I still need to go back to research, maybe
mhm.
run my own surveys so that you have kind of like this certainty? And I think that feeling that AI brings with it is still there, and it will always be there. I was talking to another data scientist, and he said, actually, we should never lose this type of mindset in completely trusting
Respect.
whatever the AI comes out, right?
Yeah,
Um, and and that's but on the other hand, that's a bit contradictory, right? It's we in especially in pharma R&D, we're similar to aviation almost. It's almost like a 100% certainty thing. We are dealing with human lives, right? At the end of the day, and there we cannot like have allow any sort of errors. Of course, errors will be there on the way towards, but
yeah,
at the end, we still need to have 100% certainty that the evidence that we generate are reliable and are true in any sort of aspects, right? So I think in this environment, the potential is high. If you think about one of the biggest challenge of pharmaceutical companies everywhere is always that yes, we have a very high R&D. It's super
mhm,
complex. How can we increase the productivity of our pipeline?
yeah,
From
yeah, yeah,
target identification all the way to the phase three trials and the like, and all the way in between, right? How can we get from, let's say, 10 years or 15 years
to a couple of
to,
years.
I don't know, let's say half,
Yeah,
whatever, yeah?
yeah, yeah,
Some
yeah.
just to have a factor. And theoretically, technology can do that. However, how far can we get, and what are the mechanisms that we can apply to bring in a bit more certainty, trust? Maybe it comes along with it the more you work with it,
Mhm.
so that we can really reach and achieve these timelines. And then if you translate this to the cost, it is tremendous, right? I mean, if you can, these are the one of the biggest cost drivers. You think about my company, out of our total revenue per year right now, we spend more than 20% in R&D,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And this is, I think, very standard in, I guess, between 15 to 20, 25% even of the billions that we generate are
Mm,
reinvested into R&D. And if you can have some leverage over here, it would tremendously help. Not
absolutely.
to mention that we could increase the precision in reaching and researching the unmet needs for the patients,
Mhm.
to develop therapies that are much more economic at the end of the day as well, so that we can create the best treatments for them too. Yeah. And I think this will come together. So this is, it's still a commercial business. So that if we can somehow work on the productivity, we can automatically translate and reshift the focus also in at the end of the day creating solutions and products and services and whatever that ultimately benefits the patient who needs that the most.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And AI is one of the, I'm not sure if that's the only, it's one tech that enables, but I think there are many factors that have to come together so that this really works smoothly at the end. So at the
Absolutely.
moment, I think we are still in this test phase. This will last a little while, but important is that we do something as industry, as player, to experiment, to value, and also be open to that, so that we will reach the benefits that this promising technology will have, ultimately then benefiting the patients and the families.
Absolutely. If we are able to reduce the time, this means also increasing the probability for patients to access new therapies, of course, and this means saving lives. This is also a huge
Exactly,
benefit.
in saving lives. And if you go back to the first question, right, we have a huge population. If you put this now on the global scale, that we want to serve, and not only focusing on the 80% who brings us XYZ of market. This is the wrong way that to think about. It should be theoretically all the disease, all the unmet needs that we can serve, and that's I think technology in a sense can it becomes philosophical, but it's kind of like democratize the access to treatment, if you want.
Totally.
And it takes a while though until we reach that.
Yeah. So that's great. Also, because probably the pharma industry have an advantage on other industries using AI. There will be always the clinical phase, not the testing phase. So even
Yeah.
if AI can suggest some potential new drugs, you still need to introduce that in a testing scientific pipeline. Not all of the industries have this kind of opportunity to really validate in an objective way what AI comes up with. But we talked about the reducing of time. But what about moving right now in time? No, and let's imagine traveling 10 years ahead. 10 years ahead in 2025, we are talking about 2035. It's like sci-fi. So this is pure speculation. But from your experience, and future developments really are rooted in the present. What kind of convergence of technologies or maybe new business models are going to define the future of digital health? And where do you see the strongest opportunities for cross-regional collaboration? For example, between Asia and Europe, for example.
Yeah. 10 years ahead, and I think we already starting to witness some of those movements, if I can call it like this. And I was giving strongly advocating within our company as well. And one of the key word that defines us is maybe consumerization of healthcare. And what I mean with that is that the highly regulated ecosystem versus the non-regulated public consumer domain are coming together.
Okay.
So now for example, to give some context, in the past, you are sick, you already have some symptoms, and then you go to the doctor, and then you are in the doctor ecosystem, and then you are treated, and then you go back, right? But there's not necessarily an integration apart from maybe a prescription that you have, you go to the pharmacy. That's the piece of paper, right?
Yeah.
And then hopefully after 1 week you feel better, otherwise you go back. But what happens in between? We are biological creatures who have symptoms, who have data about your well-being all the time. In what we have today as well, and this is an opportunity, is that we are surrounded by tech also all the time, be it at home, be it at work, be it on the way to work, or be it doing work, or actually off work as well. So all the time we have something, be it your watch, be it whatever wearables you have, that can be repurposed for
Healthcare.
tracking and understanding your health status.
Yeah.
And this is tightly connected to the development of novel sensors, right? So it's not about that we create trackers and make life more complex. So there's this nice meme of one person wearing like hundreds of trackers, and then every day you need to charge them, you need to sync them, you need to, it's not integrated. It's more about how can we integrate technology that we have and surrounded by anyways, that generates data that can be used in understanding your health, right? This could be during your sleep, for example. This could be your smart scale, could be your mirror, could be your car, where you anyways have some touch points and so on. And that can be enabled with modern sensors that are not very stiff in its application, that are not very breakable. They're maybe potentially more flexible. Maybe they have some modern readers and whatnot that can be utilized, right? And that integration I see coming closer. Yeah, and here we need to think about different modalities. It's not always about having some sort of device, putting it on your pulse, and then read. It's also about, for example, analyzing your speech, right? There are some correlations in research correlating the way how you talk, the way how you build your sentence, and whatever, and analyzing your neural. You know that as well, yeah. It has some implications on
Mental
how
health
you,
conditions, patterns
for
of
example.
related to depression and similar. Absolutely.
Exactly. For example, and then you have your and that connected to your Alexa, for example, or
Mhm.
your Echo, or whatever device you use that use voice command, right?
Yeah.
Or there are wireless sensors that can analyze your breathing habits, your
Hmm.
breathing patterns, or your heart variability, according to that, during your sleep.
Yeah.
And one third of our time or one fourth of our time during the day is about sleeping. So in this period of time, it can track you so much rich data that we're not using at the moment, but it is rather easy to integrate in daily life because you do that anyways. There
Hmm.
is technology that's possible that can track it, which doesn't increase complexity. And that, of course, need to be somehow, and that we don't have at the moment, sync with the healthcare system, so that on the healthcare side, we have kind of like the professional who is able to interpret and monitor and track the insights that you generate. Yeah. And I think this link is coming. So the seamless integration into life we already have with consumer tech, this needs to be repurposed to healthcare insights. And then on the professional side, I think it would be welcome to have more data points, right? It's not always about, those long-term ECGs where you kind of have these wired and then you come home and then you cannot shower 1 week or whatever, just to be extreme. And then you have data. This is not up to date anymore. We can have much more accurate data with novel sensors, with better connectivity, and integrate into life habits, and then make kind of insights on the healthcare system. Um, and then on the software side, of course, when we think about healthcare, and this is probably also mental health a lot, not only mental health but also habits and adherence for drug medication and all that, is kind of making healthcare not so complex and uh, difficult to understand anymore. And this, and one aspect is, and this very well as well, is all around gamification and the way how we engage the patient with the therapy. Because I think the perception of being sick is always negatively connotated, but it doesn't have to, right? It's for
Hmm.
yourself. And even better, stay healthy and not getting sick in the first place. But having ways in managing your life with the different softwares, the different tools, the richness of information that we have today, in a storytelling slash gamified way, will tremendously increase how we take care of ourselves, and also bring and serve the best therapies to the patients to have the biggest impact as well. So there are different trends that already underlines that humans, you know, it's about how to integrate and utilize new ways of sharing information, understanding information, and I think we are in the middle of this revolution, small revolution, and that in 10 years' time the ecosystem will change, and how we deal with our health.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot, Hong. And this makes me rethink when I was in Houston, actually, also with our company. I remember how much a specific hospital, the Methodist, was investing in plain language, in the fact that nurses and doctors needs to really develop the capability to express health conditions in very plain language, so that this can be
Mm,
by people, and people can really see healthcare not something like an only specialistic thing, but something that they can control in their daily life. If they understand, they are more motivated to potentially keep their health conditions safe. And I
for
think that's
sure.
important. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Because there are many, especially in cardiovascular diseases. Me
Mhm.
myself, I'm working on chronic kidney disease right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and here we always say that the symptoms are invisible. You don't feel it, but only because you don't feel it doesn't mean that
They are not.
your kidney is not declining, right?
Yeah.
And to make we are just humans, right? If you don't feel it, you don't take care about it. It's just human.
Normal.
It's like how we think. But how can you make this visible in a way, and so that you take this serious, and then eventually early prevention would give you ideally, and don't quote me now, 5, 10 more years of higher quality of life, avoiding dialysis,
Mm, mm,
for
mm.
example. This is kind of like I think this way of thinking, this way of understanding the upfront investment for yourself is kind of impacting on the other end of your life, so much, so that you can do whatever you love to do and continues to do with your families. Yeah.
Totally. Totally. That's huge. That's important. That is far more than just business. No, it's something that really relates to each one of us. Hong, we are at the end of our conversation. We really can spend a lot of time talking about these things. Thanks so much, really, about all of this perspective, the insights, and well, I really hope that we are going to collaborate also other in other occasions, actually, in the future, because these topics are extremely important for all of our students, not only those ones that are embarking in the Pharma and Health Masters, but also the many others. So I want to show also with our students this QR code, just to remind you that you can find this content and also more contents in our weekly newsletter. So feel free to subscribe. Once again, if you are interested, please follow up Hong Wa Poon on LinkedIn first, so that you can keep updated about these topics. Hong, thanks a lot for being here from Tokyo today, and talk very soon.
Thank you
Thanks.
so much. Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Talk soon.